We are going to talk about estate planning. We did this a few weeks ago, kind of got into it. We're going to dive a little deeper. So I have a list of 9 different questions for you. And let me ask, first off, number 1, because we talk about estate planning, a lot of people, Chad, think, oh, that's only for people that got millions of dollars. That doesn't apply to me, but that's wrong.
That's wrong, yes. So anybody that has anything that they want to go somewhere besides to your parents or children, that is where a will would come in play. So we see a lot of people like personal items that they want. Actually, I'm working on an estate right now where a guy has a bunch of collectible and he has a bunch of artwork that he wants to send to his distant relatives. Okay. They're like friends, cousins, things like that would fall out of that parameter of what we'll talk about later, hopefully. But that will directs those particular items. And he didn't have a lot, but that was very important to him.
So then, and this is going to seem like a silly question, but the will is part of the estate, right?
The will,
or are they one and the same?
Yeah, will creates the estate.
Okay.
So to have an estate, you will need a will that directs where things go.
Well, then that leads to the second question. What point do people need to start thinking down the line, Chad? How soon do you need to start getting these plans in place?
Good question. So I had a conversation about 20 years ago with a gentleman who had started a business, had a bunch of money, and he was like, I don't need an estate. I don't need a will. I don't need any of that stuff. And I started going through it and I started talking to him. Where does this go? Where does that go? He goes, well, it'll go to this guy or it'll go to that guy. I go, no, that's not how this will work. So he'll need a will. And he was around in his early 20s. So you think about a lot of contractors, people that started working really young, but now have accumulated a lot of assets, even though they're young in relative terms. They're still probably want to look at getting a will or some type of document in place so they can transfer their assets where they want them to go.
Because if it's not on paper, it doesn't count, essentially, right? Like, well, you could say, well, I want you, Chad, to have the car, but unless you can document it, there's no way to prove it.
Correct. Yep. It's got to be in that will.
Okay. Next question. Let's talk about life events, whether people get married or divorced or, have kids. How does that change when it comes to the overall estate plan?
It can change greatly because we deal with a lot of blended families. And if they don't set up things for the current kids from the original marriage, then that can create issues and animosity. Also, you want to take care of the current spouse. So you want to have things in place that way. When you have younger children, that's typically when we see a lot of people start to go to lawyers and get wills put in place, is when you want like a custodian or a guardianship or a conservator. Usually a guardianship is what you want, somebody to raise your child because you're no longer able to.
And then how often, let's say I set this plan when I was 30. Here I am now in my 40s. Should I have reviewed it before that point?
Yeah, I would, because what's going on now is we've seen a lot of changes in laws. So a lot of tax laws, maybe from up till 2001 to 2015, you probably would have been all right. But now with the laws the way they are, with the spousal gifts, exclusions, things like that, all of these things have now changed a lot of things. So it should be a good idea to go get it looked at.
And you are a professional, so that leads me to the trust officer and some of the key players. When you get involved in this, what is your role compared to some of the other folks that would have a hand in this whole planning process?
So our role is we get appointed by the court to act as the executor. So we sign off on closing bank accounts, receiving life insurance if the estate is the beneficiary. We'll do the tax returns. We send that out to an accountant. Accountant does it. We bring them back, sign the returns. We'll collect any tax returns that are due to the estate. We shove all the stuff that's supposed to be shoved out of the estate to the beneficiaries, and then we close it up and have the court sign off on it.
Lightning round. I'm going to squeeze 2 more questions in. We got a minute for it. So Next question. What happens if someone passes away without a will or a trust? What happens?
If they pass away in Iowa, the state of Iowa has been so gracious as to create a plan for you. It's called intestate. What happens is, depending on who's alive and direct descendant, it'll go to that person. So back to the will, if you don't have a will and you wanted your friend Bob to get your stuff, Bob's not going to get it. Either your parents or your kids will get it. It reaches out a little further. It goes out to nieces and nephews.
All right. Final question before we get contact info. This is something that can help somebody while they're alive too, and not just after they pass away.
Correct. Yeah, it can act as a trust can act as kind of a power of attorney, if you will. It can help send income to someone. If they become incapacitated, that successor trustee can jump in and kind of help that individual out.
People want to get a hold of you. How can they do that? Come meet you in person?
Yeah, they can come meet us, or they could go to myfsbonline.com. We got a nice wealth page we put together. You can fill out a form. We'll get a hold of you. You can call the main branch, 377-4891, and ask for the trust department. Myself or Joe, who's a trust officer as well, can help you out.
Always good to see you, sir.
Yeah.
Thanks for making time for us this morning. Mr. Fesler, the professor has concluded today's lesson, but we'll put it online on our website.